A very good morning to everyone who are here today. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to the second session of the Expert Diaries organized by the Future Marketers Association of University of California. Future Marketers Association is a student association that always thrives on giving the best to the students, making them corporate ready. As an initiative of this, we are bringing out special personalities that the whole country knows, to give their experience, their insights, so that our students can take something from that and learn and build their personalities. So, without taking any more of your time, let me introduce our guest speaker for the day. He is an alumni of Royal College Colombo, not just an alumni, but a remarkable one for captaining both the school swimming and water polo teams and vice captaining the Royal Cricket team, and was the head prefect in 2000, in the year 2000, and the most outstanding sportsman in 1999. He has not only excelled in sports but also in academics, having his bachelor's from University of Colombo in physical science. And starting off his cricket in school, he represented Sri Lanka under 15 and then under 19, and finally represented Sri Lanka cricket team from the year 2001 to 2017. Apart from being a professional cricketer, he has also worked at CIC Agribusinesses as an R&D executive. And speaking of his coaching career, he had received his coaching education from Queensland Cricket Australia and ICC Cricket Academy. And he was the head coach of the Royal College water polo team from the year 2012 and 2014, and the head cricket coach of Bloomfield Cricket and Athletic Club, and is the current head coach of the Royal Cricket team. This is none other than Mr. Jehan Mubarak. Good morning, Mr. Jehan.
Good morning, Purna.
All right. So, without taking any more time, I will straight away get into the questions.
Sure.
The first question would be: how would you like to brand yourself apart from being known as a cricketer or a sports figure?
That's a tough question because branding is something that I'm not. I don't look at branding myself, but I also understand that things nowadays, everything requires a brand value attached to it. But I would like to be, in terms of a brand, of somebody who has work ethic, and throughout my different things that I've done with studies and the different sports and now in coaching, to be known that somebody, once I put my mind to it, that I will see it through to the end, and that the values that I incorporate in my career and in my life, is that's what I would like to be recognized for, of having work ethic, integrity, honesty. I know those are difficult values to brand yourself with, and I actually don't go out there looking to brand myself. If people do recognize the work that I do and why I do it, I think that's good enough for me.
Yes. All right. Second question, who is your biggest inspiration, and why and how has this individual or individuals helped you to become who you are today?
Yeah, that's a bit of a tricky one because the people who got me interested in cricket initially was Sanat Jayasuriya as a name, that because he was someone who would take the game to oppositions. When I was playing, when Sri Lanka was a small nation, non-entity almost at one point, and all the bigger countries were looking to dominate us, Sanat would go out and take on the best bowlers in the world and show that Sri Lanka are here to compete. And that was an inspiration to me because it showed me that it doesn't matter who you are, what background you're from, or what your past or history is, that you can always take on the biggest names wherever you go. The other name who has been a real inspiration, especially since I started playing cricket, is Shaminder Vas. Being a fast bowler in this part of the world is very difficult, and playing without injuries for such a long period of time as he has done, and he has been the main. I can't think of another name for a fast bowler who has brought Sri Lanka cricket up to where it has been in all aspects of the game. We are known for our spin bowlers, Murali's there, Ranganehera, Kumar Dharmasena. There are so many spin bowlers who have come through. But Chamin Devas is, to me, the best fast bowler Sri Lanka has produced, and doing it for such a long time has been a great inspiration for me.
So third question would be, tell us about your first experience representing Sri Lanka cricket. How exactly did you feel? Your thought process, your excitement, the nervousness. Just want to get a glimpse of how you felt.
Yeah. My first test match was against Bangladesh at the SSC. I kind of imagined it to be, because we play a raw dome in the big match at the SSC, I kind of thought it would be something similar, but it's very different. There is the pressures at the Royal Tournament and the big match is different. You're representing your school and there are so many people watching you, but when you're representing your country, and at a young age, I was 21 when I represented Sri Lanka first, there was a lot of pressure on myself. And until I got my first run, it took me a long time to get off the mark. Luckily, I had a friend of mine at the other end, Michael Van Dort, who was opening with me. So he helped me through that tricky bit. And once you get that first run on the board, things get a lot easier. And it was a proud moment for me representing my country, and one thing I will never forget.
Yes, all right. So as a person who has excelled well in both sports as well as academics, how did you manage time to, achieve success in both fields?
Time management was it's a tricky one for me, because I didn't have a lot of time to study, so I had to make use of the best time that I had, and I also found that was the most effective way that I would absorb information, and I would actually understand what I was learning. I know there were a lot of my friends who were going for a lot of tuition classes, and there was people used to think, and I think they still do think, that the more you study, the more classes you go for, the more knowledge you gain. But to me, it's more about understanding what you are studying and also enjoying it, which is the case with most things. If you enjoy it, you tend to retain information. So I think it's really important that you choose to study the subjects that you like, rather than doing what is expected of you from your parents, from your family, from your teachers at school, or your tuition masters, because that way you're more likely to retain that information. And I used to study only for like 2 or 3 hours max, and I used to make my own short notes. I would underline, highlight, color, draw lines everywhere. And once you do write things down yourself, you remember it much easier when you go for an exam. And that is something that has really worked for me. And I use that a lot even when I'm playing cricket or when I'm coaching. I write things down so that it's almost like I've written it down in my mind while I'm writing it down on the piece of paper. So that's just a couple of tips on things that worked for me.
Exactly. It's very true what you said, that people, most students nowadays, they just choose because their parents tell them to, or because their teachers tell them to. You should do science, you should be a doctor, you should try being an engineer. But what they actually like is something else. So that is exactly what we needed as an answer. So the next question is, success isn't always achieved by, being lucky. It has to have a lot of hard work, and there are a lot of failed attempts as well. So I'm sure you have had many failures that has come out as turning points in your life. So any failures that came out as turning points in your life, and how did you manage to make them an opportunity?
Initially, when you first fail, it's like when you're walking. Whenever you do anything for the first time, you are going to fail, and that's something that I realize now. Like everybody the first time you walk, you're going to fall, and it's the same thing. So when I started, I did drama at school, and I was going to go. I was young. I was about 12 or 13 at the time, and I was supposed to take part in this big play. And then 2 weeks before the play, I was told that no, your role has been taken by someone else. I was devastated. I cried. I told my parents I'm never going to do acting again, and I stayed at home. But then these guys came home and they said, look, it's not about this say, it's not about getting on stage, it's about the experience that you get from it and participating. That was my first experience of failure. And then from there, I came back, I continued doing drama. And then I learned that every time I do go into something new, when I moved up from under 15 to under 19, when I moved from a 33-meter pool to a 50-meter pool, when I started playing for Sri Lanka, that every step along the way, as you progress, you're going to encounter failure. And I kind of normalized failure. The second biggest learning that I had through failure was that I used to listen to a lot of advice that was given to me by coaches on how I should mold myself as a cricketer, technical, tactical, mental, whatever it is. But through a series of failures, I started listening to different people, and I was a bit confused, and none of that was working out. And then I decided, look, let me figure things out for myself. And that's where I really started learning, where I stopped taking too much advice from outside and started looking inside towards myself for solutions to my own problems. And those are the two key areas where I learned from failures.
I think later on you held a position at the drama club in school as well.
Yes, I was, yes,
Yes.
president of the Drama Society
Yes, yes.
eventually.
All right. Okay. So the next question would be is if you recall any memories, I mean, surely you recall many memories in the field play as a cricketer. Any challenges, like any stressful situations, stressful decisions you had to make? How do you tackle this stress?
Um, Again, you have to enjoy it. It's sports. So one of the biggest challenges, you have stress as a player. So that is the competition stress, where you have to you worry whether your skill is good enough, whether you're good enough against this particular bowler. Then also there is how you're perceived, and that is very prevalent now because of social media. What is the public going to think of you? What are your friends, your family? What are they going to think of you? So there's a lot of uh, audience pressure. That plays a big role. Even if you are good enough, sometimes you doubt yourself because there's so much negative stuff written about you.
Yes.
So that is another. So you have to have supreme self-belief in your capabilities in handling that stress. The other stress that I had as a captain was obviously picking 11 players, and that is something that again I learned as I went along. That you can only play 11, and I know players understand it, and me being a player myself was always disappointed when you're on the bench. But to create an environment where even if you're not playing, that you are comfortable, happy, you feel part of a team environment, and managing the expectations and emotions of not just the playing 11, but those who are not playing. And that has helped me a lot in my life, because I can relate to a lot of people who have not in their measure been successful, because people always think that you have to be in the playing 11 to be successful. So managing that has helped a lot, and I use those to help me with managing stress. Communication is a big key in managing stress. So just a few points on that.
All right. So the next question is more of a comparison with your younger days to the younger generation now. So how you know that the now younger generation faces a lot of constant like competitiveness. It's more competitive because it's getting more competitive every day. So how do you feel about this? How your thoughts? Is this good, or is this going to affect people, kids, negatively, or do you think competition is good? What are your thoughts on this?
Look, competition is good. I always think competition is good. The difference is, what I feel now is that people feel that they're competing with someone else, and the the best way to compete is to compete with yourself, to be a better version of yourself, whether you're talking about cricket or studies or anything, whatever you do, to be a better version of yourself tomorrow or today. And that competition is what should drive us. But often, because of so much going on there, we often compare ourselves with what is out there. And sometimes we think we are doing well because we are ahead of the competition. But in actual fact, we have actually gone backwards. Our skills have not improved. Our communication skills have not improved. Our mental skills have not improved. We have gone backwards. But maybe we are outperforming some of the others but in reality, we have gone backwards. And this opposite is also true, where we feel we have failed, but actually we have really, really improved as individuals. So to make that distinction between competing with others and competing with yourself is important. And I think if the younger generation can do that, I think they'll be very successful because they have a lot more resources than we had when we were growing up.
Exactly, yes. So the next question is, how would you describe your leadership style? What sort of techniques do you use to mold a school cricketer into a national level cricketer?
Again, to me, communication, honesty, trust, and communication. Those are three key ingredients of being being a successful leader, but also being a part of a successful team. So that the team should be able to trust each other, be honest with each other, and have open communication with each other. So it takes some time to build that trust and honesty. But if a leader can create that culture, uh, the rest will follow automatically. And but to do that, you have to be able to relate to everybody in your team, and that's where empathy comes in. To understand that each individual is different, they come from different backgrounds, they have different expectations, and once you relate to each of your team members, build a personal relationship with them, they get more comfortable with you, they start trusting you, and slowly that trust, like with all the bad habits, trust, communication, confidence, those are also contagious habits, good habits, which can spread through the team, and very soon you have a successful team.
Yes. And we also, everyone wants to be a leader. Everyone's talked about leadership qualities. Everyone wants to captain the team. But it is also important it is also important to be a good team player. So what qualities do you think any team player, not just sports, even in your workplace, if it's a teamwork, you should be having the team member qualities. What are the qualities do you think that one person should have to be a good team member?
Yeah, number one is work ethic, honesty, work ethic, and trust. And something I always believe as a captain and as a team player, first in, last out. So if I'm the captain, if I'm the leader, if I'm the coach right now, as I am, I try to be the first person in at practice and the last person out. Take responsibility for even the smallest things. Lead by example, so that if you want something done, show that you're willing to uh, do, even if it means sweeping the dressing room, to build that culture where everybody is responsible, and the team actually becomes one unit and one family, and that is the responsibility of the teammates as well, to act as one family and be responsible for the other person's failure, and also enjoy the other person's success as a team member. If someone scores 100, you should feel as happy as well, never be the same, but almost it's like you scoring 100. And if someone drops a catch, it should be like, okay, I dropped a catch, and we should feel the same as a team.
Exactly. So, from your perspective, how much of an important role does sports play in building one's character or personality?
I think it's very important. A lot of times I say this a lot at schools because I've been involved at Royal College and coaching now. People, students, parents sometimes view sports and extracurricular activities as something to put down on your CV. Captaincy colors, representation at some international meet, prefectship. So it's something to put down on your CV, and they expect that your academic qualifications, your degrees, A levels, O levels, will actually help you get a job and be successful in life, which is true. Those will definitely help you get a job. But the soft skills that are required to apply that knowledge in real life comes from sports. The ability to handle pressure, the ability to deal with different types of people, the ability to make decisions under pressure, to handle failure. A lot of those soft skills we are not often taught in school, and we learn only when we come out. And again, the first time we have to do that, we fail, and then we get frustrated with ourselves. and we don't know how to stand up from that. So sports is really, really important in dealing with the real problems that come up once we go out into the real world.
Exactly. So with that, we have come to our last question. It's an interesting question, something that I'm looking forward to as well. So, as a former cricketer and a coach at present who has excelled in leadership development, a piece of advice you'd like to share to the youngsters who are still trying to find their true passion?
Oh, look, I think everybody knows what their true passion is. Like, once by the time you're 17, 18, if not earlier. And often we ignore it. It's not that we don't know, we know it. But there isn't enough out there to draw us towards it. If someone wants to do music or art, or someone wants to paint, um, or someone wants to be an environmentalist, there isn't enough out there to encourage us to do it. There aren't role models in every sphere. In Sri Lanka, especially, there are role models in certain areas, and that expectation to conform. Don't worry about that. You know what your passion is. Just go out there and find it, because if you are passionate about it, you are going to enjoy it, and then you will succeed at it. So just go out there, follow your passion, you will be successful.
So much. So with that, we have come to the end of our session. It was very insightful. I've always looked up to you as a sportsman, and also a person who I've always looked up to you. One of my inspirations. Thank you so much for joining today on behalf of the Future Marketers Association. I would like to thank you for being with us despite your busy schedule. Thank you so much, and hoping to stay connected with you in the future and having you with our future programs as well. So with that, we will conclude our program. So stay safe and see you until next time. Thank you so much, Mr. Jehan.